Welcome to Cash Flow Savannah, episode 27. Today, we have a special guest, Suzanne Lee. She has been on the podcast previously. She is a really fantastic wholesaler and real estate investor here in Savannah. What do you think, Chandler? That was a great episode.
Yeah, Suzanne's always good to have on, and even at the meetups with her, I love just talking to her and just getting to know her a little bit better. She's so kind of easygoing, soft spoken. So
She's
this
kind of
coaching,
she's my emotional opposite, I think. I'm always like, whoa, and Suzanne's always like peaceful and yeah.
yeah. So I think this coach adventure she's going on is going to be it's kind of right in her realm. She can calm people down and has that kind of easy kind of, especially when you're like going through it, especially when people are scaling so much. It's easy to get kind of caught up and like I mean, I can only imagine. And that's the biggest question I always have is I'm like, when you scale, like, how do you like control your like just mental state? Like, 'cause I know when just me buying one property is like, whew, I guess a mess. I can't imagine just constantly doing it and scaling and just feeling good, like, and being able to sleep well. So, Suzanne has some good thoughts on that.
She does. I think anyone who's trying to get into real estate, who's trying to get better at real estate, and even someone like me who still freaks out over real estate, like you might need to listen to this. Chandler and I ended up with some free coaching out of it. So stay tuned. This is a great episode. You'll learn a lot about her. And I want to encourage you all, to get to know Suzanne. If you're at the meetups, get time with her. She's incredible. So without further ado, we bring in Suzanne Lee. Welcome to Cash Flow Savannah, Suzanne Lee. You are our first repeat guest. What an honor.
Thank you. It was so much fun last time. I was so excited to come back again. I've been thinking about it all morning.
So, Suzanne, thanks for coming back on. The first one went really well. You told us you have something new coming up. Could you tell us a little something about it?
Yeah, for sure. So since we last talked, I've been working on a coaching business also, and it's really to help the people who are in the real estate world to really get out of their 9 to 5 and to really be in real estate full time. And so many people come up to me say, "Hey, I just don't have enough time because I still have my job and I want to spend more time on the real estate business, build my portfolio, or find more deals, whatever they're doing in real estate." And I figured I'll just share my journey because I did leave my 9 to 5 to be in full time in real estate, and I started with wholesaling, and I'm still doing that. And so I figured I'll just share my journey because I've had so many people ask me about it, or I hear so many people, complain that, "Oh, I just want to get out of this job," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna share my journey."
That's really great. Tell us a little bit of background, Suzanne. Tell us about the time when you did have a 9 to 5 and you wanted out. Like, give us that backstory there.
Yeah, so my last job was in engineering, and I was, in a corporate setting in an office, and I remember I would just drag my feet from the parking lot, and I have to walk up a few stairs, up to my little cubicle, and every morning I will feel the drag, and it's just my feet just feel so heavy, and I'm like, oh, I have to deal with those people again, and it was a lot of like frustration back then. It was like, that person, why are they so stupid? I told them already, and then why are they doing that again? And so it's a lot of, the negative self-talk that was going on, and I was feeling a lot of being triggered by all the people around me that I was working with, and so I remember one day, like I'm in my 30s, and I figure, well, I may have potentially another 30 years of my life, in this corporate world, in this office, working in a cubicle. So I'm like, okay, I really cannot do this for another 30 years of my life. So normally what people do is go ask Google because Google knows everything. So I literally remember that night I sat on my couch and I Google alternatives to corporate because I didn't know where to even start. And so all these, business ideas started popping in my social media feed, and I love Tony Robbins. So this event with Tony Robbins came up, and it was like a $20 ticket to go see Tony Robbins in Atlanta. I'm like, $20? Normally it's like over 1,000 to go see him. So I'm like, yeah, I'm driving there. Like I just bought the ticket right away. And so it turned out, to be kind of a seminar convention for people to sell their courses all throughout the event. And then Tony was just a speaker there. And so they had, a real estate kind of course that they displayed, or they showed us what wholesaling was during their presentation. And that was my first time I heard about it. I'm like, you really don't need any money to get into real estate. And so I bought the course, and I figured I'll use this, as a stepping stone toward whatever I want to do next. And so at the time, I figured, okay, wholesaling is really, about the deal analysis, and you guys talk about that a lot on the podcast. Is all make sure the numbers work, and make sure that the buy we make the deal work at the buy, so we have to make sure the numbers work perfectly in the beginning. And so I'm like, okay, it's just a numbers game, just a little addition, little minus here and there. And so I'm like, I can do this. So and so, yeah, that's how I pretty much, it took me a year, to think this whole process through. And then finally, after a year, I decided, okay, I'm just gonna take that leap of faith to go into wholesaling full time.
Okay, so first question I want to ask is, so when you want to transition, let's say, do you start saving up money, or you kind of just jumping right out? That's the kind of the biggest thing is like, I'm jumping out and like I'm not going to make any money. And it's probably going to take a little bit because when you jump out, it takes a little bit to start making money. Um, what is your process with that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So yes, the money part is the big elephant in the room. And so what I did was, throughout that 1 year, I always used to track all my expenses. So I made sure that I knew for every month on average how much am I spending. And so I would take, receipts from the grocery store, and I like to do it manually. I know there are a lot of tools out there that would help you do it automatically, but I like to do it manually, punching in the numbers of every dollar that I spent and every cent. So, even when it went to the dollar store, it was only a dollar something. I still asked for the receipt. I punch it into my little spreadsheet. I went to the coffee shop, whatever. Everything that I spent, I put it into my little spreadsheet. And so, and then that way I know exactly how much I'm spending every month. So I know, okay, this is if I want to maintain this lifestyle, and I'm a huge proponent of not having to, save up on that, cut that, because I want to maintain my lifestyle. I enjoy my lifestyle. I want to buy a little bit of, a little shirt that I enjoy. I want to go out to coffee with my friends, or I want to go with my husband. Like I want to still have those fun stuff. And I want to know exactly what I'm spending right now, with this current lifestyle. So I know I have that number in my mind. And then I saved up for 6 months, in reserve. And so I know for 6 months that gave me the cushion that I needed. And I'm like, at that point, when I left the job, I didn't make any deal yet, because the struggle that I was struggling with, I was so tired coming back from work, and I was still doing the course at that time. I was trying to juggle, coming back from work, making dinner, and then spending time with my husband, working out for myself, and then still take that time to do the course in the evening and weekends. And I was just so tired. I didn't have enough energy. And I figured, as long as I am, one foot in one side and one foot on the other, my business will never take off, or I will never see any results in any time soon if I continue this way. So I figured, okay, I'm just gonna leave the job. I'll have 6 months in reserve. So even if I made $0 for my first 6 months when I'm in the business, at least I know I can live off of the expenses. I mean, the savings. So that's what I did. And I make sure I saved up for 6 months with that current lifestyle that I had, so I didn't have to cut out anything and still enjoy, my time.
'Cause I think that's like the biggest thing that people are so afraid of. Like, oh, I'm not going to have any income coming in. Like, I can't jump out. Some people kind of start a side hustle while they're doing the corporate, I feel like. And then when that kind of grows, they kind of just ease out of it. But yeah, just jumping out of it, I can imagine it could be scary.
Yeah. And it's so hard, for me back then in my situation. I know I've heard many, many stories where people succeeded, where, they were still able to make us, steady income, comfortable income from their side hustle while they were still on the job. But for me, for my lifestyle, because I wanted to still have the me time and the family time and everything, I guess I like to live comfortably. and
Yeah, no,
and so I decided, okay, I'm just gonna jump out, and then I'm gonna go all in.
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Sounded like you were really, really, really miserable in your job. Like you just kind of hit a wall almost where you kind of needed to be done. So you kind of
Yeah,
accelerated that, almost saying it's all or
exactly.
nothing instead of the side hustle. Do you have any other
Yeah.
side hustles other than your business, your wholesaling business, Suzanne? Have you added on anything
Uh,
in your job?
So back then, I did have other ones that I was trying to start as a side hustle. I was, in network marketing. I was selling health products and shakes and everything, and that really, really, really stressed me out a lot because it was a lot of outreach, and then at the time I didn't have too many experience with doing that, and so that kind of went down pretty quickly. Um, I think that was the only other one I was trying to do. Yeah, so I was at the time trying to start the wholesaling and then the network marketing. Kind of, I'm like, okay, network marketing, maybe I can have some income coming in while I build a real estate business. But building two businesses was just yeah, m-
Wow.
just added on the pile rather than me feeling like I'm safe with that cushion.
So, as a coach, you would suggest just sticking with one business and trying to grow that first instead of trying to do other avenues?
I think so. I think for me, I'm so simple-minded, and I like to just focus on one thing at a time. And so, and for me back then, in engineering versus real estate, it was complete different mindsets for me, complete different thinking, complete different industries, complete different skill sets. And so, I felt like I was bringing, two versions of me. It's like I have on the engineering side, I have to be, super detail oriented, and then on the real estate side, yeah, you still have to be detailed, but it's a different kind of atmosphere where you interact more with people. And then, in engineering side, you just basically stand behind the computer and then you work. So it was for me, I like the simple stuff. And so one thing at a time. and and that's why I chose, what I did.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Suzanne is we are partners on our local meetup at Cashflow Savannah Meetup, and we meet once a month. And the meetups that you've just really killed it have been about mindset, goal setting. You're very good at organization, and you're really good at coaching, which that's not my thing, is just to run 100 miles an hour and figure it out as I'm falling out of the plane, and you're kind of my opposite, where you're very meticulous and like, let's do it like this and that. So tell Chandler and I and our audience, tell us about your coaching business, because neither he nor I have any clue how to even start one. What's the plan? What are you most excited about? Who do you really want to work with? Like, give us some inside information on what you're doing now, Suzanne.
That's a very good question. So I just came back from a Tony Robbins event called Date with Destiny. And so at that event, I was in more of a support role because I've attended the event before. And so I was really just guiding people through any questions that they had. And that event really allowed me to like step into my new coaching identity, where I just had so much fun. It was just like being able to pour that love onto the participants, and then because they felt that I was helping them, and then they sent the love back to me, and it was just being able to see that impact that I was able to create. It's just as simple as we're sitting on a table, and this other lady and I were talking, and we're just sharing our experience from the exercise that we did during the event. And it was relationship day, and she was sharing her experience with her past relationships. And I remember at the time, it's like, yes, I did get some training from, having some of the how to guide people through, their own thoughts, and asking them the questions. And really, the idea behind is we as coach, we ask them the questions, and then the person that we're working with, they have to come up with their own answers. Because if we tell them what to do, kind of like your parents told them what to do, you will never do it. But if you tell yourself what you're supposed to do at your next step, then you will believe yourself. And so it's even better that you convince yourself what you need to do next. And then our role as a coach is to just to really guide you throughout that thought process of to help you bring out those answers from yourself. And so I was having that conversation with her, about her past relationship, and I was like still practicing, my questions that my resources and questions that I have available to me. And I was listening to her story, but at the same time, I was like in my head, I'm like, okay, what should I ask her next? Like, should I ask her about what she wants? Should I ask her about what she needs at the time? And I couldn't come up with the answer, and I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm just gonna listen to her story. And the as as I was listening more to her story, and I was just being so present with her and just looking at her eyes, and then just understanding how she was feeling at the time of her past experiences. And this question that came out of my mouth, I'm like, I don't at this point I don't even remember what it was, but it caused her reaction was like, oh, that was a really good question. I never thought of that. And so it's just having be able to have that download of questions that comes out of nowhere. I didn't even know where it came from. And really, the second that question came out of my mouth, I'm like, dang, where did that come from? And so it was just so much fun for me. Just like I'm almost like a channel, to whatever you're supposed to hear. And it's almost like magic how that happens. And so I just had so much fun. And that's kind of why I want to step into this coaching side, because that it really, really fills my cup. During our meetups, it's like just being able to help people and answer the questions, and helping them realize a little shift, in their day, in their business. That those are the moments that I'm looking for, and those are the moments that I just love, and I have so much fun doing it.
I think getting a coach is like one of the best things you can do because just doing it by yourself is so hard. I remember I was just trying to do it by myself and use Google and YouTube, and it just was not working out. So, hiring a coach is one of the best things you can do, or just go find a mentor or go to meetups, Cash Flow Savannah meetups, and find some people that you can just talk to all the time. So it's really cool what you're doing. One thing I want to ask, and this might be really bad of me to say, is can you explain to the audience? I have an understanding of who Tony Robbins is. I really haven't like looked into him. And what is it like? What does he do? Is he a motivational speaker? Is he a coach?
Mm.
Explain Tony Robbins.
Yeah, that's a good question. So Tony Robbins, he doesn't like to call himself a motivational speaker. He calls himself more of a strategist, where he is a coach. And he said he basically, pioneered the industry of coaching. He's been in this industry for over 40 years. And so it's really about self-development. And what I learned from him was, the how to manage our own emotions, how to be aware of our own emotions, and especially, being business, being real estate. A lot of the times, the example, sellers ghost us. We've been talking to that seller for a while, and then now all of a sudden they don't want to talk to us, and we don't know what's happening. And so that may cause, some frustration or some bad emotions inside of us. And so if we remain in that frustration and that anger, that's not going to help us solve any problem. It's just like if you think about when you're angry at somebody, were you able to come up with a creative solution of how to solve the problem, right? When you're angry and mad, your brain gets stuck. And so by our brains being stuck, that affects directly our business results, because we cannot come up with a way to solve it, right? And so being aware of that emotions in the first place, okay, I'm getting mad. Okay, what's going on? What caused me to be mad in the first place? Okay, well, it's just, oh, well, she's not answering my phone. Okay, well, she's not answering my phone. Is that something I can control? No. Okay. So then I alleviate that stress, and then so, okay, then I think about, okay, what else can I do next? What else can I do within my own control, being given this situation that she's not answering my calls? And so a lot of times these are all, stuff that I learned from Tony Robbins, is just being aware of what's going on with ourselves, being aware of what's going on in our own head with our self-talk. And so that way we can be resourceful. And especially for as business owners, if we want to strive and scale our businesses, that is so important, to be, in a calm state. That I'm not saying 100% we're always calm, but in a resourceful state, that will allow us to help grow our team and grow our business and all that. Did I answer
So
your question?
a lot about emotional mindset. Is that kind of
Mm-hmm.
his coaching? Okay,
Right.
that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
So he.
really resonating with what you're saying, Suzanne, because, I have a decent sized portfolio and several businesses, and I get kicked in the teeth about 4 times a day. And how you react to that is incredibly important. And if you're just on your own and you don't have other resources, you may or may not say or do the wrong thing, which is what I think you're saying. And there's a lot of value in having someone to pick up the phone and go, I got to stay in this. I can't just quit on, whatever's going on. I have a coach for one of my businesses, and they're in that exact business. And it's just been a game changer for me, to have that resource. So I love your focus on leave your 9 to 5. I already did it. I'll help you too. What do you think is the biggest struggle for clients like who you work with, as far as getting out? Like you made that leap on your own without, well, I guess you sort of had some coaching through Tony Robbins, but like, what do you see as one of the biggest hurdles to doing that?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good question. And yes, you're right. I did have a coach all along that whole year when I was thinking about it. And so without, I always say without her, Rosa, I couldn't have done it, and taken that leap of faith. And what we did really was the helping me find my own confidence and finding that certainty for myself. And so a lot of the times the reason why we don't take action is because, we feel like, oh, we're not ready yet. I need to learn more. I need to do more research. I need to save more money. I need to make sure, the business takes off. But then these lists just are never ending, right? They keep on adding on and the whole reason why we feel like we're not ready is because we don't have that certainty in ourselves. And so we're trying to look for, outside source of validation and say, okay, that tells us we're ready. But as long as basically kind of if you think about, somebody in a basketball court, like you can tell if they're about to, in their face and their body language, if they're about to make that shot or not, because they have that certainty. They start with that certainty in themselves. And I guess one of the examples I love Simone Biles in the Olympics on TV. I watch her. I'm like, her physiology and her face, how much certainty she has in her face, is different from her teammates as well. And I'm like, she's gonna get that, whatever routine that she's gonna make because she implements that certainty inside of herself already. And so it's really about as we cannot get that validation from the outside, sources, from money or from whatever learning that you get. And that's why we're stuck in analysis paralysis all the time. But what happens is that my coach helped me to instill that certainty in myself already. So then that way I can take the actions that I need. Because once you have that certainty in you, is like, this deal is about to fall through in real estate. If you compare two people, one person says, oh, there's no way I'm going to lose that deal, right? And that's self-talk. There's no way I'm gonna lose that deal. I'm gonna make whatever I need to do to make it happen and make sure we close on it. Versus another person who says, "Oh shit, that person's not answering. Oh shit, and you may have to bleep this out if we need to, right? It's like, oh, why is that person not answering? Is like, oh, this deal falling through. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? These two people are gonna take different actions completely, right? And the difference between them is just their self-talk and the certainty that they instill in themselves. And so, that's why having that certainty inside of you first is so important. And so my coach, and then that's kind of my main goal as well, in this coaching program, is I'm going to focus on the mindset part because everybody has access to all the real estate tools, and they may already be in a real estate course, or they may already be following a mentor. And so you have so many technical skills, but if you don't have that certainty that you can do it, you will never take action, and you'll always be stuck in paralysis analysis. And so I want to really focus on that mindset piece, that will complement whatever technical skills you already have in real estate so that you really take that action for yourself. So that's kind of really my main goal for this whole coaching journey.
I want to put this to Chandler real quick, Suzanne, because Chandler, you come from the professional sports world. You played professional baseball for years and you had a ton of coaches. And that was, I would assume, a game changer at times. I'm sure there were many coaches that made a huge difference in your career. And if you'd ignored them, you probably wouldn't have gone as far. Do you have any thoughts on just coaching in general? Because I know it's been pivotal for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, you basically have a coach your entire life in sports. So it doesn't make sense why not to go ahead and just get another coach for the rest of your life in any sort of business because honestly, business might be harder than sports. Like some people are just good at sports and don't really need. I just had God given ability to perform really well in baseball. But that was so funny when you brought up sports. Like I started thinking like back on the days and kind of the confidence in my ability to throw a pitch during that game. It's funny, like my coaches would always say, "Hey, like if you're about to throw a pitch and you don't feel very confident in that pitch, step off, like recover, and like pick the pitch you want to throw so that you're confident before you throw it. Because if you're not confident in it before you do throw it, most likely it's not going to be a good pitch." So that was kind of the thing that I thought about while you're talking about that. So
Yeah, you're spot on. It all starts with you first, and then your action follows next.
yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask too is like everybody deals with that kind of self doubt. Like they always like let's say you're about to go through a deal and you know that and you said it's a numbers game. You know the numbers work. But there's always that kind of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. and you end up backing out of the deal. I know I deal with it a ton, and I feel like everybody still kind of deals with it. What are some things that you kind of did to kind of push through that? Because we're dealing with some pretty big numbers here. We're not dealing with just like a couple bucks. We're dealing with some pretty big numbers. So what's some things that you kind of push through to get that certainty and like confidence? And because I still struggle with it a lot. I'm sure everybody does to a sense.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very good question. And so, and again, I learned this from Tony, is our physiology, our body language, and our emotions are completely tied together, right? If you think about our less confident state, that's an emotion state, that's an emotional state. And then our body language, when we're in that state of less confidence, right? And you can also imagine if you start thinking about when you're in a less confident state, or you're about to you're scared to make that call. It's like, how would you carry yourself in your body language, right? And I can already feel it, like your throat starts to get a little tighter. You may speak a little less louder. Your shoulders are dropped, and then you just kind of like less energy, and your arms may feel heavy, right, in that state. And so he talks about by changing our physiology, by changing our body language, we can affect our emotions. And so because they're tied together, so the easiest way is to change our body language right away. And so one example that he gives all the time is just by standing in a Superman pose like that, standing up from your desk. If you're sitting, just stand up, and then just be in this pose for like a few seconds, half a minute, and like the confidence, and I'm already feeling it. It's like the confidence is already coming in. I already feel in a different state, and you can probably hear my voice as well if you're listening to this. It's like I may be speaking a little faster, and it's not my throat is less tight, and
Mm.
so my chest is popped up, and so the already being in this pose, it's like I have that a little bit more confidence compared to when I was when I was talking earlier. Exactly. Yeah, exactly, and it becomes fun to even do that. And so just by standing up from the desk and just having your hands on your hips. And sometimes I still do that when I am in a call that I'm calling somebody that I'm not confident with a negotiation. I have to like, stand up from my desk, and I'm actually pacing around the room as I talk to them, because I know if I sit down, that's going to affect my confidence, and they can hear it in your voice if you're not confident, right? And so the changing your physiology, just changing your body language, stand up from if you're sitting, that just changes your emotions right away, and that's the number one hack to how to hack your own emotions.
All right.
Wow.
I'm going to test you, Suzanne. I have a scenario, and everyone I'm sure that is listening to this episode has probably been in the same situation. Literally 2 days ago, I went and met with an investor, and he's a wonderful person. And I have bought two duplexes from him in the past, and he financed one of them. So he knows me very well. I have been paying him every month for years. And I have a lot of confidence in this relationship because I did exactly what I said I would do. I'm happy. He's happy. But the thing I did that was bad was he offered me four duplexes and I only bought two. And of course, I regret it, but whatever. So he actually asked me to come by just the other day and talk to him. He was kind of exploring his options, and he's kind of wanting to rent them, things like that. So we talked through what he wanted to talk to. And of course, I had all the confidence in the world when I was with him. I was like, you can do this, you can do that, or you can just sell them to me, and I know he's not going to sell them to me at the price he sold the other two, 5 years ago, but still, like, I told him two or three times, I said, I'll buy them. I'm a good buyer. If you can finance them, even better. Like, I did my whole pitch on him, right? I was like going hard. And he told me, he goes, Julie, you'll be the first one I call if I decide to. And I said, awesome. So I was feeling good, right? I'm good. I'm confident. We're friends. This is a guy I've known for years. I get in my car, and this is me, okay, physically. Ugh. Like, I'm not, that's crazy. I'm gonna overpay. It's still a rough area. I didn't buy them the other two before because they were in a rougher area, and it's still kind of like that. I'm like, why did I do that? I'm not even buying right now. Like, I had all these doubts as soon as I'm by myself in my car away from this very lovely gentleman. Like, how do you stay in it? Like I said, when you get alone with your thoughts, you do all the things and say all the things, and then all of a sudden my doubts kicked in. It was crazy. Am I a head case, Suzanne? Do I need therapy? Should I be locked up? What would you do in that case? I called you as my coach and I said, Suzanne, I just doubted myself like crazy.
No, Julie, you're still free to roam.
I'm
That
saying,
happens a lot, and that's totally human. And what I do to myself when that happens is like that I ask myself, okay, what is going on? And that's when I realized I was having a lot of self-conversation in my own head. And I was literally talking to myself. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling, this doubt? Where is it coming from? Oh, is it because, oh, maybe because the price is too high. Oh, okay. The price is too high. Well, what can I do about that? Okay, well, I can ask him, I can negotiate with him, I can explain this is why the number I need to be at, right? And so whenever I get mad or I get self-doubt or any kind of feeling, frustration, anger, anything like that, I kind of talk to myself the first thing, okay, what's going on? What's causing this anger? What's causing this frustration? What's causing this doubt? And then so I identify the element, and so when I have the element, then I know how to solve that problem so I can move forward with it.
yeah,
Julie,
That's a
you're
really
not
good
the only
question.
one. We all do that.
right.
Oh, I get in the truck all the time. What in the world did I just sell him?
Yeah.
And I know the properties, I know the sell, it's all the positive. I don't know why I just went so negative like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I need you in my life, Suzanne, because I should have just called you and been like, okay, I am a head case. Like, and I still honest, I knew in that moment if he called me right back, I would still would have bought them. Like, I know I want them and I smell a good deal. Like, but I don't know. It was weird that I just had such self-doubt, like as soon as I got by myself.
Yeah. It's true, and it still happens to me, and we all have that emotional home. It's the emotional home that we're so used to staying in, and that's kind of my baseline. When I started, my baseline was, I was so used to being behind the computer and not talking to anybody. So my baseline emotional home was, doubt and worry, and then not being confident at all talking to people. And so when I realized, okay, that was my emotional home, and that's what happened when you were talking to the gentleman. It's like, okay, you brought yourself to a different version. You brought another emotional state into it, and then when you got back in the car and you were by yourself, then you went back to your emotional home where my hallucination is maybe you operate at the self doubt, um, you know, a lot of the times, and that's what kind of you went back to your habit basically, and you went back to being yourself because you brought yourself out to a little bit more confidence, and then you went back to being yourself because now you can really be truly yourself in the car. And so that has happened to me so many times, like the by talking to other people that brings another version out of me. And so by being aware of that emotional home, then when you have that conversations with yourself, then it kind of breaks your pattern and say, okay, well, this is just happening because of this issue, because of his price, or how he was talking to me, or any reason that's causing that. And so that way, kind of, it breaks your pattern to realize, okay, this is just something that's happening. This is not me. I know I can be another version, and I've done that before. And so it's just about shifting your emotional home steadily to being in a new emotional home for yourself that's more serving for yourself.
I need that. And I've bought a lot of properties, and every single property I've put under contract, including the self-storage facility that I just bought in Pembroke, which is arguably a fantastic deal. Every single time I get something under contract, I wake up the next morning freaking out. I'm telling you, 100%, every single thing I've ever put under contract, I've had the same reaction. So I want people to understand that. Like, I doubt it's going to ever go away, but I've got, you kind of work through it. But
Mm.
anyway,
Yeah,
seasoned investors and newbies all go through those emotions. That's what I'm trying to get out there. It's like
yeah,
sometimes we need someone to call and say,
that's true.
punch me in the nose right now. I know I'm crazy.
It's true. We all do that. And so if I asked you from all those contracts that you did and your Pembroke deal, the how is that going for you? Even though you had that, that little freak out moment, the how has the deals happened for you on all those ones, right?
All of them have worked out. None of them have worked out exactly how I wanted them to. But yeah, I'm still here. I haven't gone bankrupt yet. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I just have to I have to tell myself I'm doing a lot of things well, and I'm doing a few things not that well. And so I gotta constantly work on that. But I just believe in what you're saying so much because mindset is a huge part of this business. It any of us can come up with an excuse for anything, any opportunity. I could offer Chandler, a $15,000 property, and he'd probably have some self-doubt, even though it's only $15,000. It's easy to go, well, it has a messed up sewer or whatever. It's so easy to come up with excuses. And that's where we kind of need a coach to kind of knock us upside the head sometimes.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point. And can I coach you for a short moment?
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
And I want you to go back, and you brought up a good point because I want to hone into this because so many of us do that to ourselves, right? When you lock up that contract, and I know you run your numbers, Julie, and so when you have that doubting moment coming back after you signed it, the next morning when you wake up, the if you think about that, it's like, okay, but you just told me that the deal is still working fine, and most of the deals for you are working fine. And so, what is one thing that next time you notice that for yourself, what is one thing that you can do to remind yourself, okay, let's shift this state of doubt.
Honestly, what comes to mind first is there's a book by Dan Sullivan and the guy that writes his books, I can't think of his name, Dr. Ben Hardy, and it's called Future Self, something about your future self. And I've read that book about 12 times. Honestly, I've read it on like so many airplane rides. And they talk about going to bed. Before you go to bed, you write down 3 wins, and then when you wake up the next day, you write 3 goals. And I've always really loved that concept because so I think for me, the action item for me when I do get a deal under contract and knowing I'm going to freak out the next day is I need to go to bed with that mindset of I got this great deal under contract. I'm excited. You have to kind of go to bed with that mindset. And then when you wake up, you kind of carry that through. I've read that actually in several books, that kind of how you go to bed is how you're going to wake up. And a lot of times people hit the snooze, hit the snooze, hit the snooze, but you have to go to bed going, I'm getting up, I'm going to do this. I guess that's what I would say for myself. I don't know your thoughts on that, but yeah, it does tend to be when I'm alone in my own head, which is a lot of times, when I'm in bed, I can't talk to anyone. So that negativity rolls in. And that's what happened when I was in my car.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you being aware of other tools. You have so many tools in your tool belt already, and you being able to just pull out that tool from your tool belt right away. I'm confident the next time it happens to you, and it will. That then you're like, okay, this is what we discussed about. Okay, let me try it out, and then I love to hear kind of how you feel after that, and see how you can shift that for yourself. Because when you're alone, you're the only person who can help yourself.
So I guess we'll do another scenario.
Yeah, come on, Taylor. We're gonna get
We'll
free
do another
coaching out of
scenario.
this.
I feel like a lot of people deal with like kind of the opinions of others. And like, let's say you're jumping from the corporate world to go do this entrepreneurship, whatever you want to do. They're so worried about the opinions of others. And I do it all the time too. Like even like I'm posting a lot on social media and it's kind of like, dang, like it's easy to pick yourself apart and be like, what are people thinking about this? What are some things that you did? Was it you just had a good support system, or do you not care what other people think? Because I care what other people think, and I just can't get over it. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, just don't care what other people think," and I'm just like, "How do you do that? Like, you don't just drop that. You always kind of have that in the back of your head."
Yeah. Can you give me an example of when you have that feeling that you're okay, okay, what are other people gonna think about me? You have an example when that happens to you?
When? Um, I don't. Oh, you put me on the spot. I'm trying to think. I feel like that's a lot of the reason why I'm out of baseball, why I got released. It wasn't the physical aspect of it. It was just the what if I throw a ball? It was always like instead of throwing strikes, it was like, what if I throw a ball here? It wasn't like that confident, all right, I'm gonna throw a strike. It's like, what if I hit this guy? Or what if this guy hits a home run on me? It was never very confident. And I don't know, as far as the real estate, um, I think content is the toughest thing. Is like, all right, what are people thinking about this? Like, am I doing something stupid here? It's like, just like, I don't know, am I talking weird? Who knows? Just always having something like, is something wrong? Like, I don't know.
Well, Taylor,
Yeah.
wait, I'm getting in on this. I'm on Team Suzanne now. So you've passed on a few deals. So talk about one of those where you, and I would assume it's a lack of confidence. That's what it usually comes down to, because you certainly have knowledge, and I know you've been saving for this, so you're not like dead broke or anything. But there's been a couple of deals that you've passed up on. So tell us about that. Give Suzanne a shot to fix you. Come on. We've
So
deals. I'm not calling you out, but just in general.
I have. I probably have passed up on I look at a lot of deals, and I've probably passed up on a ton of deals because I've just looked at a lot. Um, I think a lot of it is I look in the future and be like, all right, if I give up this money now, like how do I pay for things in the future? And I think that's a lot of like what I think about. I think it's that comfortability. Like, all right, I have this chunk of cash right now. If I give it up, man, what am I going to do in the future too? I know I'm going to have like people to like support and have to pay for things, and I think that's a lot of like what's kind of helped me back from a lot of deals.
Yeah. From the real estate side, you've done deals, Chandler, right? With Julie.
Mhm.
If you think about a situation where you felt on the other side, you felt really good, as you say, I walked through that deal with Julie, and it's amazing we closed on it. Can you give me an example of when that happened?
We walk through deals all the time, and she's always like, "Get it, get it, get it, get it." I'm just like, "Okay, let me go look at the numbers."
But
Right.
he did a very successful flip. Is that what you're asking? You're asking for a successful deal? Is that what you're saying,
A
sir?
successful deal either with Julie or by yourself.
Yeah, it was with Julie, and I just knew that one that like I walked in, I just knew. All the other ones I don't really I feel decent about, but this one I knew.
I passed on it, and he was like, "If you're not buying it, I'm buying it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Enjoy." And then I was like, "Damn it!" And
I
he
was trying to get her. I was
Damn.
like,
stayed.
"Are you?" I was sitting in the car, and I was like, "Julie, you've got to get this." She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna send it out." I was like, "No." I was like, "You can do so many things with this," and then she was like, "No, no, no, I just can't right now." Which you did have a ton of like, she had. Don't let her. She had like 3 huge deals that she just got, so she had a lot going on. And I just knew I was like, "This is a steal." So I was like very confident about that. But here's the deal: building up to that, the amount of like anxiety I had, and like I couldn't sleep at night. Even like closing, I was so nervous because I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't even enjoy the moment. It was kind of like, whew, all right, I closed, sweet. Like I feel good. Like I'm done with that. I was like, man, I'm done finally. Um, and then it was kind of just back on to the next one.
Yeah. So that moment that you're like, okay, Julie, you're gonna pass, I'm gonna take it. Who was that Chandler? Can you think about, putting yourself back because of that Chandler who are like, okay, Julie, I'm gonna take it now. So can you feel that emotion inside of you? Like, how
Yeah.
were you acting, Chandler, at that moment?
Well, it went to as soon as I was like, all right, I'm going to get it. It kind of went back to that, all right. Because honestly, when I did that deal, I think I'd heard about wholesaling probably a month prior. I had no idea what wholesaling was. And I went to a meetup with Julie, and I was like, who are all these wholesalers? Like, they're everywhere.
We
And
had a good net pace at that point, had we, Chandler?
I didn't know about Pace, Morby. I didn't know. I'm telling you, I didn't know anything about wholesaling. And, but I did like the idea of wholesaling. And I was like, okay, I can either wholesale, I can flip, or I can buy and hold this deal. That's the steal. Um,
Mhm.
I was very confident, and then it was kind of like, all right, what do I want to do with this? And then finally, I started calling people, saying, hey, like, what do you do? Like, do you want a house? Or and finally, just kind of, I had some help along the way, and I started calling, just asking people to coach me through it. And thank goodness I had people in my corner that were willing to help.
Well, and Suzanne, we
Yeah.
sat in the driveway, and he was like, "You're crazy. You need to buy this." And I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "You're not buying." Like he was very like certain. And
Don't send it to your people yet.
the next 30 days, he was a stress case. But she's right, Chandler. In that moment,
Yeah.
you were like, "This is a deal. I have to
Mhm.
have it."
Yeah,
Right.
Like, you had that, and it worked.
yeah,
Can
it
I
did.
do an exercise with you, Chandler?
Let's do it.
All right, can you stand up from where you are and then still have, the camera being able to show your face?
Yeah, yeah, we
He's so tall, we might get
can
his.
do it.
Oh, there you
All
go.
right, I'm standing
Oh,
up.
perfect. Okay, perfect. So then our audience can still see your face. And so if you can, take a deep breath, stick it out. Whatever nerve that was, just stick it out with me. There you go. All right. And bring your Superman pose. Put your hands on your hips. Yeah. And if you can just take a deep breath, close your eyes. Take another deep breath, close your eyes, and another deep breath in. And just let it feel good. And Chandler, I want you to step back into that moment where you told Julie to step away. I'm gonna step in and then take in that deal. And really embody that yourself at that moment. When you did that, you really remember how your head was, where your shoulders, where was your chest, where were your hands, right? Give me a nod if you feel it. You got this. Give me a big smile. There you go. Do you feel yourself back in that moment?
Yeah, now I remember.
I love it. And then with this Chandler, this version of Chandler in this state of confidence, Julie, step away, I'm going to take over. If the next deal was to come and you're like, the numbers work, yeah, it could work. I could do maybe make some, a few thousands here and there. With that version of a Chandler, Julie, step away. I'm taking over. What would that Chandler say if the next deal was to come?
So do you want me to respond to this?
Yeah, please.
That version, what would you think?
What would he say the next deal that comes over?
Probably the same. It'd be the same process, wouldn't it? To where
Yeah, what would that Chandler say if the next deal were to come?
I would say, "Give me this deal. It's time to rock and roll through it." And I feel like a lot of it though too is I've done it once, so I know what to do. So I feel a little bit more confident in it.
Yeah.
That was my first deal. So the amount of confidence I had doing it was about zero because I just had no idea. I just learned wholesaling. So, but yeah, no, I'd probably go back to that feeling for sure. Because Julie talks about it all the time. She just knows. She smells the deal. She knows exactly what a deal is. I feel like I'm the same way. Like I can
Yeah.
kind of see it, and I go, okay, this is a deal. I didn't have to run numbers, although I do go back home and still run numbers. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. I guess I'm waiting for that feeling again on a deal. I just haven't had that feeling.
And
Next
now
time
you
you
can
have
step.
one, you need to go
Yeah.
back to that driveway and be like,
I need to go back to the same house,
yeah, Culverton.
get the same
Yeah.
deal.
Exactly. And that every deal will be different. You may not have another jackpot, like the one you just had. And
Yeah,
so if you now you have access to that version of Chandler who was like, Julie, step away. You have that version in you already. And if you can step back into that version, anytime. Because, if you just think about that moment when you on that driveway, I guess. Is that where it was?
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
sitting in my car in the driveway, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Do not send this out. I want it. Do you hear me? No."
Yeah,
And I'm like,
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I had
I
no,
remember
but he
the
was
agent
like,
going, "We want this
Yeah.
number," and I was like, "Okay."
Exactly. And you just have to step back into that version of Chandler and say, okay, I'm taking over. I got this. Give it to me.
Another thing I do well is like, which is weird. I feel like when you put yourself under pressure,
"Hmm,
um,
you
you
figure
just always find a way to make it work. And when I get under that pressure, I work better actually. When I'm not under any pressure, it doesn't really, but I work better under pressure. So like maybe I just need to go ahead and get that deal, put myself under pressure, and then you always kind of figure it out.
you're under pressure right now, aren't you, Chandler?"
Yeah, they got me. I'm sweating. I'm just
That was
kidding.
beautiful. Thank you for doing that. You did awesome.
Hopefully people will go and watch this because most people probably listening. You need to go watch.
Susie,
So
it's amazing. Like you're just I'm so honored to know you. Like you've just been such a blessing in my life. And I've talked to you sometimes when I'm going through stuff just as a friend. And you've always just been there for me. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for that. And I think you're the most natural coach out there. And so I really hope you know how much I wish you the best with your new journey. And I hope people are inspired by this. And I know everyone has one of those moments where they just had a lot of doubt and they messed up. And maybe you can change a lot of lives.
And I would love to do that. And so oftentimes, and I truly believe that we are the ones who hold ourselves back, not anybody else, not the deal, not the sellers, it's us. And so by me having learned all those tools from Tony, it's like I really want to share that with everybody else because as long as we are aware of what we're doing to ourselves, we have that control back to change it. And so that's kind of really my mission of what I'm trying to do here.
So Suzanne, I want to ask, like, where if somebody wants to sign up with coaching with you, where can they find you?
Mhm.
And I know you
So
have
Yeah.
some events as well. Tell us what you have going on here very shortly.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at underscore Suzanne, SUZANNELEE. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes.
Yes.
That's my Instagram. And then coming up very, very soon on December 28th, that's going to be the Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do a Zoom call, a webinar, just to go over the tips of exactly how I left my 9 to 5. It will be a short session, an hour to an hour and a half, just to give you three tips that you can walk away with immediately of how you can take that step forward for yourself. So that's going to be on December 28th on Thursday. And then I hope to see you there. And afterwards, I will also be having a course in January that I'm starting. It's going to be a 6-week course. We're going to be going over every single step of, being aware of your own state, being aware of, your own realm of circle in your whole life that you need to take care of. Being in the business, you used to have your work going on, used to have maybe your health you want to take care of, you want to take care of your family, your friends. So all these areas, we're also going to go through that so that you feel just less overwhelmed in your current situation. Let's make the current situation a little better so that when your mind is calm and calm and in control, then that will allow you to take that next step that is such a big decision for you. So that's kind of going to be the goal of the course. It's going to be a 6-week course in January, starting January 9th.
You're going to help everyone start their year off in the right mindset and with their goals and all the
yeah,
things.
Yeah.
I
And in
really,
that webinar,
I really like.
sorry. Mm-hmm.
I just
Go
like
ahead.
that because it's emotion plays a huge role, especially when you're like doing your own business or a CEO or whatever. I've always heard that keeping your emotions like this is just the best way to do. Like up and down is not always because then your team's up and down too. So it's just kind of tough for your team to keep up too. So good for you, and I'm kind of excited to see where you go with it, and we'll have to have you again in a couple months, see how that's going.
Thank you.
Well, Suzanne, while we have you, and because you are the most awesome meetup host ever, let's talk really quick about the meetup in the new year. We have big plans.
Yes, we sat down, Julie and I just sat down to plan the entire year of 2024. And Julie, you want to walk us through some of the fun stuff that we have planned for everybody in the new
I
year?
do, absolutely. I want to first and foremost, anyone that's listening to this podcast is going to get a heads up because January 18 is our next meetup. We have not announced that yet. And I'm trying to get to my spreadsheet if I'm not looking at the camera right now. But so it's January 18 at the Clyde. We are going to be doing speed networking. Do not miss this. I have been honored and blessed and grown so much over knowing other real estate investors over years. And you're going to have anyone that comes, it's free, number one, but you're going to get a chance to meet every single person in the room. It's going to be like speed dating, except for real estate investors. So definitely do not miss January 18. I am really excited about that meetup. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then what else do we have after that if you want to name a few just to get
Sure.
people excited about it?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about how to lose money. We're going to have one session completely where people discuss how they lost money. In real estate, that's important. We've all lost money except Chandler. And we're going to actually have two separate attorneys coming to talk to us, free legal advice. I cannot say that loud enough. You have to be at these meetups. We want to keep it very high level, and you're going to get a ton of information for free. We're also going to we're going to have a whole meetup about house hacking. And then we're also going to do quite a bit more with live deal analysis. That was very popular before, where people analyze deals on the spot. Here's an address, go for it. So we've got a lot of great things coming up for 2024 with our Cashflow Savannah meetup. So we hope everyone will join us in person. It's just a really great group. I can't even say enough about what a great group of people it is. And it's mostly because of you, Suzanne, and also you, Chandler, who you always help so much. And it's just been a great meeting of the minds. So just want to get those announcements out there.
Yeah, it's true. And I want to point out something about how to lose money. We're often that fear comes from the other side. What if I lose money, right? And so I don't know if this happened to you. It's like almost practicing in sport. If you've practiced your falls in sport, then you feel okay. It's like, okay, well, I've already practiced this. I know how it feels like. Then you're not as scared of the falls, right? And so we're gonna be sharing, some of our own experience of when we had that fall in real estate. So actually what it looks like, how it feels like, and it becomes, less scary after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and if I can get around people that have lost money and I learn from how they did, then I'm not going to make that mistake. So
Exactly. Exactly.
A very popular topic in real estate is, okay, you hear people talk about, oh, I lost $100,000. How do you recover from that? So
Yeah.
great topic.
yeah, how exactly did you lose 100,000, for example, and then how exactly did you make it back up? Those are the things they don't mention.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
well, Suzanne, I just hope you know how much we love you, and it's been an honor having you today. And thank you so much for coming. We will have your contact info in the show notes, and we just really appreciate everyone listening and joining in.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always so fun to talk to both of you.
Thank you.
All right, take care, Suzanne.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening to episode 27. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. We deeply appreciate it. And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.